Hey, my beautiful people, this is ERGJ, Conspiracy Brother back here. We're talking about the Zika virus, man. This is, I've been doing a little research on this, so this is going to be fun, I think, for us to kind of talk about. Because as we know, Zika is pretty prevalent in Rio, where the Olympic Games start on Friday. It's now August 1st. Olympic Games starts on August 5th. But today we had some information come out regarding Zika, and I thought it would be cool for us to actually go through this and talk about it. So let me pull up my, oh, that was there. That's pretty cool. So let me pull this up. Let's start talking about, propaganda. Because we have in front of us, we have actually some, so, quite possibly a big false flag event that's coming down the pike. Propaganda is Zika real? Is it fake? I mean, whatever your thoughts of it. But propaganda, man, is really just to instill fear and to get people kind of talking about something that may not necessarily be true. It's a law that passed back in 2012, the propaganda law. And it basically says that it's legal for the United States government to lie to the American people. It's legal for the United States government to lie to the American people. So let me pull up, let me pull something up here. All right, we'll pull that up. All right, so I found interesting that we have this CDC today on our news. We had a CDC issues a historic travel warning. So historic is almost like the first word saying it's the first time they've done this in years. I hate when these pop-ups come up. You can't even stop them. Historic meaning it's one of the first times in history that that this is that they've issued a warning like this. So it was over a Miami Zika outbreak. So they're calling it an outbreak. And when I hear outbreak, guys, one of the first things that I think about is I think of an outbreak. I think of like a plague. I think of like the 10 plagues in the Bible. And that's kind of got me thinking about it, because I was like, man, we've had, as far as I can remember, we've had AIDS, we've had Ebola, and now we got Zika. And there's probably some other stuff before that, malaria, whatever different outbreaks that we've had over the years. And so Zika is the new but not so new virus that's out. And so let's kind of go through this story because it says Centers for Disease Control and Prevention issued an unprecedented travel warning on Monday, advising pregnant women and their partners not to travel to a small community just north of downtown Miami, where Zika is actively circulating. This is the first time the CDC has warned people not to travel to America, not to travel to an American neighborhood for fear of catching an infectious disease, according to the agency spokesperson. Spokesman Tom Skinner. The warning came after 10 additional people in Florida were found to have been infected with the Zika virus after being bitten by local mosquitoes, bringing the total to 14. Florida Governor Rick Scott and CDC Director Dr. Tom Frieden announced the development in separate news conferences Monday. The new cases were found by door-to-door surveys of 200 people in their homes and businesses. Door-to-door, this just sounds very odd. And they were identified by urine and blood samples that tested positive for the virus or an antibody. So they did door-to-door surveys of 200 people. They went door-to-door and collected urine and blood samples. Sounds very, very odd. Late last week, Florida State health officials confirmed that 4 people had obtained Zika from mosquitoes in the same 150 square meter area. So think about this, guys. We talk about mosquitoes, and they only a mosquito only flies in 150 square meter area. Doesn't it seem like this? That's very odd for only this one area in this Florida place to have been infected by this quote unquote virus. I mean, if it's so, this is what I mean by controlled psyop. It's controlled. It's in this area. It's controlled by, probably by the CDC. So it's a mixed-use development with upscale as well as economically stressed businesses and homes, which Frieden said complicates mosquito control efforts. So they're controlling the mosquitoes, they're controlling the virus, and they're controlling it in an area. New test measurements over the weekend showed a risk of continued active transmission in that area, Frieden said. Because of this finding, we are advising pregnant women not to travel to that area, and if they have traveled there on or after June 15th, to visit their healthcare provider for testing. So one of the questions that came up is, if this virus is in this 150 square meter area, and they're advising people not to travel to that area, then why are they not advising people not to travel to the Olympics? Because it's very prevalent, supposedly, in the South American area where it's a true outbreak. This is not an outbreak. This is something that's happened in a controlled area, if it happened at all. And they have control of the area. They have control of the mosquitoes. That's what they call it, the Center for Disease Control. They keep control of the diseases that they create. Isn't that interesting? So June 15th is the earliest day, said Frieden, that local health officials believe the mosquitoes could have passed the virus. So June 15th, so 2 months ago. And so we're just now getting a story from something that probably happened 2 months ago, and it's just now making a mainstream story, even though it's probably already over. Think about it. This is the Center for Disease Control. They control these things. June 15th is the earliest day, said Frieden, that local health officials believe the mosquitoes could have passed the virus, which they obtained by biting a person who had returned to the United States with the disease. Since 4 out of 5 people with Zika have no symptoms, it's possible that person zero being had no idea they were infectious. Look at this, person zero. So what the heck does that really mean? Like, the person never, if you just look at the word person zero, what does that sound like to you? Sounds like a person that never even really existed. Like, there's not a person, it's just a ghost carried this virus over, supposedly, from returning to the United States, and they landed in this one area, and then all the mosquitoes that might have bit this person and then went and bit someone else, they stayed in this one controlled area. Give me a break. Can't you see the lies that they tell us and think that the American people won't even think like you can control a mosquito now? I guess you can. So with 40 million travelers to and from areas where Zika is actively circulating, many can come back who feel perfectly fine, Frieden said. But the virus could be hitchhiking in their blood. That's why everyone who travels to one of those areas should use insect repellent for at least 3 weeks after they return. What? This is the first time I ever heard him talk about. So is insect repellent going to keep a mosquito from biting you, I guess? Or is it that you have control of this area with the control on the mosquitoes, the mosquito control efforts that's keeping it in this area? I've never heard them say anything about insect repellent. Let me repeat that again. That's why everyone who travels to one of those areas should use insect repellent for at least 3 weeks after they return. But if it's in your blood, what is insect repellent going to do? It's going to keep other insects from biting you and then getting it in them system and then going and biting someone else. This makes absolutely no sense. And this is who we have as our Center for Disease Control correspondent. You know what I'm saying? This is our director who's telling us to use insect repellent after, if it's in our blood, to keep it from hitchhiking or keep it from, I don't know, expanding, I guess. So basically, if you travel to one of these areas, whatever areas those are, when you come back, they want you to use insect repellent for 3 weeks after you return. And I guess that's going to keep other insects from biting you, getting infected, and then carrying the infection. But if that's the case, then wouldn't the infection really be an outbreak? It wouldn't be in this controlled stage area if it really is an outbreak. I mean, it just doesn't make any sense. It wouldn't stay in this controlled little block area that they have pointed out for us if it really was an outbreak. This is the kind of stuff that I be asking. It's like, do they really expect us to believe this stuff that they just tell us? I mean, it just sounds silly. And they expect us to believe this stuff. I mean, my God. So anyway, so let's see here. Let's calm down here. So pregnant women who live in or travel to the area should be tested for Zika infection in the first and second trimesters of pregnancy. Pregnant women and their male-female partners who live in the area should prevent mosquito bites and use sexual protection. Male and female partners of pregnant women who travel to the area. Blah, blah, blah. I don't even want to read no more of this. of this story. Let's go on to the other story because it came exactly straight from the CDC. So it said the Florida Department of Health has identified an area in one neighborhood. One neighborhood. There's an outbreak in one neighborhood in Miami. Very odd, where Zika has been spread, is being spread by mosquitoes. Like they control the mosquitoes from going outside of the area. This is highly weird, guys. I don't believe it at all. This guidance is for people who live in or travel to this area anytime after June 15th. Based on the earliest time, symptoms can start in a maximum 2-week incubation period of the Zika virus. So we're not supposed to travel to this area. And if we do travel to this area and get out of this area, we got to use insect repellent for 3 weeks. But we have people that's traveling over to Rio where Zika is prevalent in South America, but they didn't put any travel warnings on that area. So here's what I think is going on, guys. I think they want an outbreak, very similar to the like I said, the 10 plagues that we saw in the Bible. We got AIDS going on. We've had malaria. We've had Ebola, and all of this I think is part of what they call population control. That's right, Crystal. Population control. So there's this thing or this area that is in Georgia. It's called the Georgia Guidestones. And it was erected in 1980. It's in Elbert County. I'm actually got to go visit it. But it's got 4 ancient languages, Babylonian, Classic Greek, Sanskrit, and Egyptian hieroglyphs. And it's also written in a few different languages: English, Spanish, Swahili, Sanskrit, Hebrew, Arabic, Chinese, and Russian. And its first inscription on this Georgia Guidestone, which I believe is 10 different rules, almost like the 10 Commandments. The very first one says, maintain humanity under 500 million in perpetual balance with nature. And it seems to be that when we start talking about population control as being one of the agendas of the elite, I don't know. I haven't looked at. I'm gonna do a message on these Georgia Guidestones. I'm actually going to research it more. But here's what it says. It says limit the population of Earth to 500 million will require the extermination of 9/10 of the world's population. We see this in Planned Parenthood. We see this in abortion, where we make the choice for ourselves. But in order to exterminate this many people, there has to be some outbreak that's uncontrollable. And it seems like the government is creating, I think that's why we have the CDC. It's not to protect us from diseases. It's for them to create diseases like AIDS, like malaria. And then it gets out in a controlled environment. Like Ebola was in a controlled environment. It was in, I think it was West Africa, right? But it didn't spread out to all of Africa. It didn't spread out to Asia, whatever Africa is attached to. It was very controlled. So it was controlled extermination. And of course, I don't believe that the United States, our population, will be one of the first to go. So obviously we had, we have Ebola for Africa. And it seems like we're going to have Zika for South America or Zika for Brazil, wherever it is right now. I think American population will be one of the last to go. But what can happen is that some people get infected, bring it back to America, and then they end up putting us into this situation where we got to get a vaccine or we got to go into quarantine camps or FEMA camps. And you have to decide what you're going to do. You're going to take this vaccine, which that vaccine is another virus, or you're going to go into quarantine because they consider you to be a danger to society. It's very interesting what's going on with this virus. I think Ebola was a test, and I think Zika is the next thing that they've created in order to, one, bring fear, but then also, two, to work on this ultimate agenda of reducing the population. They talk about it all the time. There's just too many people on Earth, not enough resources. Of course, they're hoarding resources to themselves. So the American Stonehenge's reference to establishing a world court foreshadows the current move to create an international criminal court and a world government. The Guidestone's emphasis on preserving nature anticipates the environmental movement of the 1990s, and the reference to seeking harmony with the infinite reflects the current effort to replace Judeo-Christian beliefs with a new spirituality. Now, we see in the new spirituality, that's a new age belief that you'll see Oprah Winfrey and quite a few of her compadres talk about this new age philosophy. But ultimately, it comes back down to the philosophy or the spirituality that we see. We just had a story that come out about the Satan satanic clubs or Satan clubs in schools, that they want people to believe in Satanism, which means that you are God and that you do as thou wilt. That is the spirituality that ultimately they want operating in the world. So the Guidestone is something that you might want to look up. Again, I got to do a lot more information on this, but it seems to be the 10 commandments that they're following. Some of it sounds good, but I wonder what's really behind all of it. I just know the first one is about population control. So I thought I'd bring that up, because when you start talking about outbreak, you're talking about massive amounts of people that are infected and that could eventually die from a disease. So it also brought me to look up what the Center for Disease Control and Prevention is. It's a federal agency that conducts and supports health promotion, prevention, and preparedness activities in the United States with the goal of improving overall public health. Now, how many of you guys actually believe the Center for Disease Control is improving public health? I absolutely don't believe that at all. I believe that they're an incubator for diseases, and they actually are the government's agency for testing and for creating diseases to cause these outbreaks. And they use the disease that they create in these places, they send them out and put them in controlled environments like we see here, a controlled environment testing ground to see the impact that it'll have on a not even a large population. But we're saying that we got 10 people that are infected. It's now on American ground or American soil. We didn't see this with Ebola until like week 4 or 5. We didn't have any citizens that were infected. Now, how do they operate? Here's how they operate. They operate by this thing called my bad. They operate with things called problem, reaction, solution. So the government creates or exploits a problem that then attributes blame to others. Then the populace reacts by asking the government for protection to help solve the problem. So we have this disease that the government creates or has created, and they're going to assign it to someone else, monkeys in Africa, something like that. The population reacts by asking the government for protection. This is the vaccines. What's funny is the government already has the solution that the people are going to ask for. They already have the vaccine. So the government offers the solution that was planned by them long before the crisis occurred. So this is why I'm so against vaccines, me personally, in my personal life, for anybody that I'm attached to, because I don't understand how you expect me to believe that you can inject me with the virus and make my body my body will adjust to this virus that you're going to inject me with, and then therefore my body will be able to battle off that same virus later on in my life. That never has made any sense to me. Why would I put anything in my body, and I would put my body to the test based off of what some other man has said is something I should do? So you'll never see me taking a vaccine. If it come over to America, I'm gonna be in a quarantine camp, because they're not gonna stick nothing in me. So outcome, the rights and liberties are exchanged for the illusion of protection and help. And this is how the paradigm works. The government continues to create things like a terrorist group like Al-Qaeda or like ISIS. And then that group or that experiment or that thing that they created causes chaos, order out of chaos. So the people who are dealing with this chaos ask the government for help, because we have become dependent so much so on the government that we think the government can fix our problem. So we go to the government and say, hey, what can you do? The government say, hey, here's what we got. They already have the solution created. So when ZIKA was created, the cure for ZIKA was created. When AIDS was created, the cure for AIDS was created. When syphilis was created, the cure for syphilis was created. But you don't get the cure because there's no money in the cure. You get the cure later on when there's some miraculous discovery, but they have the cure way in advance, and that cure is saved up for the people in high places. You'll never see them get sick. Never see them get sick, because they got the cures to everything for the people that are in high places. Again, the rich rule over the poor. So that's how they operate. The problem, reaction, solution. They create a problem. They get the people asking for a solution, and they provide the solution, which they had long before the people asked for it. And that's how we get duped into believing that our government is righteous when actually they are corrupt and they are just leading us like sheep to a slaughter. And ultimately, in this case, I believe we're talking about population control, where they're looking to exterminate more than about 9/10 of the world's population. So we'll see this not only in, as we saw in West Africa, we're going to see it more rampant. We're going to probably see a lot of it in South America with the Zika virus. And then maybe they'll create something else and they'll start working on taking people out in other ways as well. But I don't believe that we're in an outbreak here in the United States. I believe it is all propaganda. It is all false, fake. I don't even believe in Zika at this point because, again, I just remember Ebola. Ebola, it killed so many people, then it just disappeared. Where is it now? It was an incurable disease that just disappeared. Doesn't make any sense. And so we might, again, there's nothing new under the sun. They continue to do the same tactics to get people in fear and getting people to react how they want them to react. And you just got to stay, you just have got to understand that the government will lie to you because they really don't care about us at the end of the day. They don't. I mean, they're so blatant at this point that they literally lie to us in our face, and you know, and we don't even catch it. We don't even see it. We just like, oh, we just keep on going on with our day and our life, and no one ever questions these lies they continue to put in front of the American people. At any rate, I just thought I'd do a quick video on the Zika virus, this travel ban to Florida. I mean, it's all bogus, guys. They're going to be focusing on Brazil. They're going to be focusing on these other countries that they want to control or that they have control over. They're not going to take out their own people first because we're closer to them and we would have contact with them. You know, if we get infected, that means that we can infect the people who control us, who rule over us, who are their slave masters. So they're not going to infect us first. They may scare us first, but that infection is not going to come over here. It's going to be overseas first, and then it may make its way over as the population continues to die down. America, the government in America, they already have total control over all of the people. That's why they can be so sloppy now. They are not concerned about the level of intelligence rising in America. They feel like the majority of the population is dumb enough to continue to believe these stories that they put out, so they don't even have to be covert anymore. They just sit up here and tell us what they're doing, and it's just in plain sight. I don't know how people don't see it. I mean, I guess that's what they mean by awake. You got to awaken. You got to open your eyes and see and start reading and start paying attention, I guess. At any rate, it's curiosity, guys. It's going to lead you to truth, and it's the truth that's going to set you free.